Hello, I'm Jerry Fort. I'm actually Jungle Jerry. No, it's just the name of my channel. So, I'm Jerry Fort. I'm going to read a story out of here. This is a book called The Scary States of America, 50 Weird and Terrifying Stories, one from each state, based on true events. So the story I'm going to read now is from West Virginia. And it is called Mothman, Strange Creature, Alien, or Both. Okay, so it starts like this. My bud, creature fan, is obsessed with collecting stories about all kinds of beasts, from Bigfoot to werewolves, and he's always careful to check out the facts. So when he texted me with this story, I knew it was for real. Okay, this is the conversation between Creature Fan, which that's his username, and Paraguy. Okay? Creature Fan says, "Yo, Paradude, got a mega beast for you, man." Paraguy, "You mean Mr. Jensen, my science teacher? I've already met him." Creature Fan says, "Still with the jokes, huh? Still with the jokes, huh, JS?" Jace, I think his name is Justin. I can't remember if it's Justin or Jason, what his name is, but, well, there's nothing funny about this guy. Does the name Mothman mean anything to you? Paraguy, "No way. You met Mothman? Is this your ghost texting me? 'Cause from what I've read, Mothman loves people for dinner." Creature Fan says, "I didn't meet him, dude. This kid in my school got lost in the woods and lived to tell the story." Paraguy says, "Details." Creature Fan says, "First, how much do you really know about Mothman?" Paraguy says, "A little, but I have the feeling that I'm about to learn a whole lot more." Creature Fan says, "Here's what I know. The first sighting of Mothman took place in 1966 in this little town, Clendenin, West Virginia. It's actually not too far from where I live. Anyway, while digging a grave at a local cemetery, a group of men noticed what they thought was a large bird taking off from a tree. Looking up, the men realized that this was no bird. The creature looked more like a human being with wings. It appeared to be 7 feet tall, with brown leathery skin covering an unusually wide body, large red eyes, and what seemed to be antennae sprouted from its wide, bony skull. The creature flapped its bat-like wings and soared into the sky and out of sight." Over the next few days, the sheriff's office in Clendenin and nearby Point Pleasant were swamped with reports of sightings of the large winged creature named Mothman by the local newspaper. One of the most chilling reports came from 2 young couples who were driving near an abandoned TNT manufacturing plant near Point Pleasant. As they passed the large decaying building, their car radio inexplicably switched off. A few seconds later, their headlights went out. Then the car's engine stalled. Sticking his head out of the rear window, one of the men looked up and saw a red point of light hovering just above the plant, hanging motionless in the sky. People came to believe that it was some kind of spaceship that delivered the creature to Earth, or something like that. But at the time, these 4 people didn't know what it was. Before the guy could point it out to his companions, the 4 friends were shocked by the sudden appearance of a large creature running right toward their car. The creature had large eyes that seemed to grow right out of its neck. It vaguely resembled a man, but was at least 7 feet tall. It had wings of some kind that were folded against its back. Panic gripped the couples as the driver tried again and again to start his car. Finally, the engine turned over. The driver floored the gas pedal, peeled out, and sped away. The man in the back seat glanced skyward and noticed that the red light was gone. Then the driver looked in the rearview mirror and saw the creature spread its enormous wings. "Turn around," he shouted. Everyone in the car watched through the rear windshield as the creature flapped its wings and took to the air. The driver kept the pedal smashed to the floor, picking up speed, tearing through the West Virginia night. He glanced at the speedometer and saw that he was zooming down the road at 100 miles per hour. The flying monster was matching their speed. After a few minutes, the creature flew away, but 4 other witnesses also reported seeing the flying Mothman that night. People believe that the abandoned TNT plant has become the Mothman's lair. It's like a fortress, Jason. It's like a fortress, Jason. Okay. The building is surrounded by large concrete bunkers. A series of underground tunnels snake their way in all directions, making it easy for Mothman to hide or escape. For years after the first Mothman sightings, lots of reports of electric disturbances came in from houses near the plant. Passing cars continued to lose radio signals and headlights, or just stall out altogether. And many people claim to have seen the mysterious red lights hovering above the plant. Anyway, told you I knew a lot. Paraguy says, "You didn't find that all out by yourself." Creature fan, "All right, some of it I got from the newspaper articles and books. So what? It's all true." Paraguy says, "Great, but what about the kid who got lost in the woods?" Creature fan, "Patience, Professor. Here's the story. Here's the story Todd Upton told me about what happened to him." So here's the story. "I like to hike in the woods, and I'm usually pretty careful. I'm out of their way before dark. I'm out of their way before dark. I'm out of their way to hike in the woods, and I'm usually pretty careful." Okay, I get out of the woods before it gets dark. Okay, I'm out of there before dark. But a couple of weeks ago, I must have lost track of time. Plus, I was exploring a new section of the woods. I can be pretty curious about stuff, and sometimes it gets me into trouble. When I realized that it was starting to get dark and I should be heading back, I looked around and couldn't figure out which way to go. I got real freaked out, you know. I tried to stay calm and hoped I'd recognize some sign of the path. So I switched on my flashlight and headed toward what looked like a building in the distance, figuring it was a ranger station. Well, someone was there. Someone was there, all right, but it wasn't a ranger. I scrambled down a steep embankment, crunching the dried leaves on the forest floor, and headed for the old brick building. This is no ranger station, I realized when I saw how big and run down the place was. It looked like an old factory. Weeds and vines climbed up the sides of the crumbling structure. A few years, and the entire place would vanish back into the forest. Moving as quietly as I could, I stopped at a smashed window and shined my flashlight inside. I wasn't really scared. The place looked totally abandoned. Through the window, I saw a large, cavernous space and not much else. I made my way around to the front door. My curiosity got the better of me. I pushed the door and it swung in slightly, creaking like it hadn't been opened in years. I slipped through the narrow opening and swept the dank, dusty room with my light. I was shocked to find a round pile of twigs, leaves and straw about the size of a kiddie pool. Like a nest. A nest. I thought, this looks like a huge nest. But what kind of bird makes a nest big enough for a person? It didn't make any sense. And that's when the smell hit me. A sickly stench of rotting animal flesh stung my nostrils. There, next to the nest, was a pile of animal remains, a disgusting mound of the bones and insides of squirrels, woodchucks, and other forest rodents. Covering my mouth and nose, I hurried across the cavernous room, where I encountered ragged sheets of brownish-gray material. Kneeling down, I picked up a piece and then dropped it in disgust. I had touched a leathery chunk of skin, left behind as if a giant snake had molted. Yuck! I turned to leave, but froze in terror as a piercing whine filled the room. The sound came from behind me. Holding my breath, I spun around. My flashlight beam revealed a tall, dark-winged creature staring down at me. Its blood-red eyes sprouted from a hideous, misshapen head. The thing towered over me, glaring and hissing, unleashing ear-shattering screeches as its two antennae switched like those of a giant cockroach. Its wide body was covered with brown, leathery skin. As it shuffled toward me with small, wobbly steps, I realized that I was trapped. The hideous beast spread its enormous wings, which opened to a width of nearly twice its height. I backed away, moving toward the window, my light and eyes locked onto the terrifying creature before me. At that moment, I seriously believed I was going to die. I considered leaping through the window, but the jagged shards of glass around the edges made me stop. The monster blocked my way back to the door. Ripped open by glass or torn apart and eaten by a monster. Those are some grim options. I quickly glanced over my shoulder and out the window and spotted a red glow in the sky. The tiny unblinking dot moved closer and closer as if it were heading right for the building. Then my flashlight went out and the room plunged into total darkness. Again and again I pressed the switch, trying to turn the light back on, but it was no use. I squatted down, covering my head, preparing to be devoured. Through my fear, a bit of my natural curiosity surfaced, and I snuck a peek out the window. The red light was now moving away. It quickly faded into the night sky. Yeah, I screamed, startled as my flashlight switched back on by itself. It says Y-A-H with an exclamation point. I don't know if that's yeah or yeah. Sounds like a karate, yeah. The light switched on by itself. I searched the room, but the creature had vanished. I ran to the door and back out into the woods. I hustled through the woods faster than I ever had before. I soon came to a house near a road. I started to tell the people who answered the door what had happened to me, but they didn't seem shocked at all. Mothman, the old man said, nodding slowly. What is it? I asked, trying to catch my breath. Alien is my guess, the old man replied. The red light people see is the ship. The red light people see is the ship. Not sure if it's visiting the creature, or maybe the ship keeps bringing new ones. Don't know, but there's no connection between the Mothman and that light. But there's some connection between the Mothman and that light. I had heard enough. I called my mom, who came and picked me up. On the ride home, I told my mom about what happened. She looked at me kind of funny, like I was lying. She asked me what I was really doing in the woods. I insisted I was telling the truth, but she didn't buy it. That's when the red light appeared in the sky above us. Our headlights went out. The engine stalled. This is it, I thought. This is when Mothman gets my mom and me. But then, just as quickly as it appeared, the red light faded into the distance and vanished. We were obviously not going to be its next victims, but I couldn't help but wonder who would be. All right, West Virginia, about the Mothman. If you enjoy books like this, paranormal type books, you collect this type of stuff, get you a copy of this for your collection. The Scary States of America, 50 Weird and Terrifying Stories, one from each state based on true events, by Michael Teitelbaum. All right. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.